Geetesh, just to clarify, this was the Alpha X project that you were working on. And we have kids who do things like start businesses and build apps and, build followings online. You decided you wanted to help young people at a refugee camp across the world in Africa with mental health and building up life skills. Why did you pick that? What drew you to that?
Something I really liked was teaching people in education, and I like helping people in general. And then I talked to the guides here. They told me about the Learn and Earn program, which is basically a program in Poland where kids who were displaced because of things going on in
the Ukrainian war
would basically have access to 2-hour learning, and they would get paid to go to school. And from there, I talked with some of the people that were working in Malawi, working with Learn and Earn, and I was guided to the refugee camp.
That's incredible. So you built a 4-week program to teach young people these life skills as well as how to be kind of AI first and get educated on that. What were the biggest results that came out of that 4-week program?
So 100% of the kids I worked with, they said that this program in general helped them for like specifically with like their life skills and learning how to do things with AI.
You help them learn the skill of learning how to learn, which is really, I think, one of the most valuable skills. In fact, people often ask me, what do you think is the biggest benefit of Alpha School? And my answer is, I think ultimately we're creating self-driven learners who learn that skill of how to learn. And that can take you so far in life if you know how to learn.
Welcome to the Future of Education podcast, hosted by Mackenzie Price. Mackenzie is the founder of a revolutionary new school model that's disrupting education through AI. Join us as we discuss the latest in education innovation.
So Geetesh, you first got involved in Alpha through the After School Weekends program, and you had the opportunity to work on what we call an Alpha X project. Tell me a little bit about what your experience has been like working on Alpha X projects, because you did something pretty amazing. So I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so I had a lot of turbulence, as in I switched around with my Alpha X so much because I was trying to figure out what I was passionate about. But I did make a lot of progress in a refugee camp in Malawi. And what I was doing
refugee camp in Malawi, again, just the normal thing that a high school student would work on. Let's just stop, because I think a lot of people are like, they don't even know where Malawi is. So let's take it from the very top. How did you get involved in a refugee camp in Malawi?
Yeah, so there's actually people who are trying to bring 2-hour learning to underdeveloped areas. So 2-hour learning, or time back now, is basically the academic system that we use to for AP courses or general curriculum in general. That's
across the board. All of our K through 12 education is based on this. This is the personalized learning software.
Yeah.
And we've had so much interest really around the world with this. But this particular project was for a refugee camp that's in Malawi, which is in Africa.
Yeah.
And tell us more about what that setup is, because I think a lot of people don't know about this part of the work that we do.
So one thing TimeBack currently is trying to do is bring their software to underdeveloped areas for kids that have access to education or don't have it at all, or very poor education. Because currently in Malawi, their education system is very, very bad. And they did a whole pilot program to bring it to a group of, I think, around 50 kids in the Zaleko refugee camp, which is one of the biggest refugee camps there. And they were basically trying to take the results they get from these kids in the refugee camp and take it to the government so they can possibly make 2-hour learning the standard in that country, which would just help the country so much and boost it so much, because these kids who didn't have access to proper access or time to proper education now have something that they can complete in 2 to 3 hours of the day, and it's just a game changer for them.
Yeah.
And every student that was a part of it, they were so super thrilled. And from what Alpha was doing there, I met with a few people that are currently in Malawi, and they created an internet cafe. So the internet cafe is basically a place where kids and adults from the refugee camp can come in and use the internet, and they would pay an hourly fee. But it really changed the game there, because they originally they expected adults to come in for research or whatever they would want to do. But surprisingly, almost 100% of the people that came into these facilities were kids, because they were just so curious on learning about the internet, learning how to use computers. And now they even have classes there of digital literacy classes, graphic design classes. So I started working with them. And one thing that is really important or two things that are important in the workforce right now, or to earn a living, is to be able to work with AI and to have very good like soft skills, which are basically life skills. They're not just important in the workforce, but also in life. So public speaking, empathy, being able to work under a time stress, being able to work with others, collaboration. These all come under life skills. My goal in Malawi was to give these students the ability to earn a living for themselves. So I was doing three main things. One was teaching them AI skills. So a lot of them went from not knowing much about what AI was to learning how to create games, create websites, image generation in a span of 4 weeks.
And you were doing all of this via virtual sessions that you were hosting with these students, like live sessions. Is that right?
What I was doing was I had a facilitator there that I was paying. He was guide trained. So guide training is something like every guide goes through to be a very good guide and help students here at Alpha. And I worked with someone there, and they facilitated the whole progress. But what I was doing was create a curriculum in Google Classroom and Google Slides, and I would push it out daily, and I would have constant communication with the facilitator, their calls when they needed help, and I would check up on each kid's progress every day. And I was working with a group of 7 students, so every day if they were like missing work, I would help them like catch up. So it was a little bit less of me live tutoring them, but there was someone in person.
But you were, as a, summer after your sophomore year of high school, you had built a curriculum to train students on AI tools and how to become AI first.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and another thing two other things that were part of the curriculum was teaching those life skills. And you can't really teach these like in a classroom. Life skills are something you learn from experiences. So from that, I created like fun mini activities they would do daily, and every 2 to 3 days they would focus on a specific life skill, and they would do different activities as a group to build those skills.
Oh, give me an example.
A very simple like game that we've all played before, Simon Says, was something they did. And another one, which was under the life skill of working under time management, was where their guide would give them different prompts to work together to research. And one person would be guiding another person who can type. So only one person can type and only one person can speak. And they're under a time crunch to answer all the questions the guide provides. So it's like the fun workshops we do here at Alpha. And it really, it's fun for them. It's competitive for them because it's like a competition. And they learn how to work under the time stress, how to collaborate with each other. So those are the type of games that they were playing to learn the skills.
And how old were these kids generally? What was the range?
So they were from the 15 to 18 range. So they were all in the high school.
Oh, wow. So
range.
Like your age and older.
Yeah, they were older. So it was kind of cool like teaching people that were older than me. But it was really great because now they have these life skills and they have like AI development skills. And another thing they did was research and develop their own little mini project, like an Alpha X project, but
for them.
They're working together, and it was in their refugee camp. And the topic that they focused on, or one of the things they were interested in, because I asked them, what are problems that you face in your community that you would want to fix? And one of the things they came up with was mental health in teenagers and youth, because a lot of people, without the proper resources there, they weren't open to talking to their parents or friends, and they resort to like drugs and like these, or like weed, for example. And sorry, I don't know if that would.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's actually crazy to think how universal the human experience is. Like you're talking about refugee kids in Malawi, and what you just described as something that happens here in the United States.
Yeah.
With kids at high-end schools too.
Yeah.
Geetesh, just to clarify, this was the Alpha X project that you were working on. And we have kids who do things like start businesses and build apps and, build followings online. You decided you wanted to help young people at a refugee camp across the world in Africa with mental health and building up life skills and helping them learn skills that would make them successful. Why did you pick that? What drew you to that?
Yeah, so what I did with one of our guides in the after-school program, his name is Jeb, and he's super helpful, by the way. But one of the things we did was go to my YouTube history of things I like to watch and put that all in a Google Doc and make connections between things I'm interested in. And what I found was something I really liked was teaching people in education, and I like helping people in general. I talked to the guides here. They told me about the Learn and Earn program, which is basically a program in Poland where kids who are displaced because of things going on in
the Ukrainian war.
Would basically have access to 2-hour learning, and they would get paid to go to school, which is just like crazy. So from there,
that program, was actually started by 3 of our high school students who went over there for a month during the summer and spent time actually in Budapest, Hungary, originally building that program out, which was pretty amazing. That program that's now gone on to help 1,000 refugee students was started by 3 of our high school kids.
Yeah, that is crazy. And from there, I talked with some of the people that were working in Malawi, working with Learn and Earn, and I was guided to the refugee camp with the help of guides to brainstorm what my passions were, and also helping them like lead in the right direction. It was like one thing led to another, so it was kind of luck in a sense that I was able to work in Africa, but it was also because I really wanted to help these kids and I was interested in teaching. So it just fit perfectly, and it was able to help them. So
that's incredible. So you built a 4-week program to teach young people these life skills, as well as how to be kind of AI first and get educated on that. What were the biggest results that came out of that 4-week program?
So 100% of the kids I worked with, they said that this program in general helped them for like specifically with like their life skills and learning how to do things with AI. And they've also had multiple like organizations that have visited their facility. And one of their biggest accomplishments they were able to show was this 4-week program, which is helping them get more like buzz, get more help from other people to grow the internet cafe. And the kids, apparently what I heard from the facilitator was they kept coming back every day after the program to continue working and like learning, experimenting on their own. The curriculum could only like teach so much, right? But they wanted to experiment on their own and like kind of learn on their own, like different tips and tricks they can do with these AI tools.
You help them learn the skill of learning how to learn, which is really, I think, one of the most valuable skills. In fact, people often ask me, what do you think is the biggest benefit of Alpha School? And my answer is, I think ultimately we're creating self-driven learners who learn that skill of how to learn. And that can take you so far in life if you know how to learn.
One of the things they told me was that I gave them hope. And what I did was I did like a bunch of interviews with them in the very last day. They had a whole graduation ceremony and everything. And I did interviews with them to get feedback and what they thought about the program. And when one of the kids said that, it was like very, very, I didn't know how to react because these kids I haven't met before, but I was able to help so much. And it just made me feel really good that I was able to give them hope. And that's just meant, it's still like something I think about to this day. It was just crazy.
It's really an incredible thing to have done. So at Alpha School, one of the things that often happens with our students is they will go dive into something, they'll do a project, and it'll give them a chance to learn a lot and kind of see if something they're interested in. But we don't require kids to say, okay, pick a project and then this is what you're locked in to do forever and ever. Kids get to move around and kind of say, hey, I want to try something else. And Geetesh, that's the experience that you're having at Alpha. You did this awesome pilot program with the refugees in Malawi, but then you came out and said kind of, hey, I think I might want to work on another type of program. So tell me what direction you're exploring now.
So one thing I found, like I was trying to figure out my passions and it took me a long time. But I realized I'm very entrepreneurial. So I want to build businesses. I want to be a serial entrepreneur when I'm older. And my passion wasn't in like a specific niche like a lot of people here. Like think of Alex, who's a student here at Alpha, working on his like mental health or like those mental health AI plushies, right? For me, it wasn't a specific niche, but more of the general idea of business models, finding pain points in business, fixing those pain points. So that's what I realized I wanted to do for a living. One of the reasons I stopped with the Malawi program was I realized I was depending a lot on other people for donations or like funding because it was like a non-profit model. And I love helping people, but I didn't want to have to depend on others. And I wanted financial freedom for myself. And when I'm able to earn money through my own companies, I can help these kids in Malawi again so much more. So that's like another reason I shifted my focus. I found my passion. I also wanted the program I'm doing in Malawi to be sustained by me rather than having to rely on money that might run out. So what I'm currently working on is building the first Y Combinator, but for teenagers. And I'm starting off by building an audience of like-minded teenage entrepreneurs who want to earn financial freedom like early in their life and they don't want to like work for other people. I'm also building expertise in business models and business analysis. And the third thing I'm doing is starting my own startup in public. So essentially, I'm taking like the Content Inc. route. The Content Inc. route or method is basically, instead of starting product first, you start with audience first. So you do distribution through audience, and from them you figure out a go-to market, and that from them you figure out a product. And that's essentially what I'm doing. My end goal as of now is to create a Y Combinator for teenagers, but as I'm building my audience and as I'm building credibility with them, if there's something else they want that's not a Y Combinator for kids, then I'm very open to changing it and creating a product specialized to what my audience want.
So you've said a lot there in this. You said a lot here that I think there's probably translations needed for those who are not up to date. What is Y Combinator?
It's a incubator. So it's an incubator for startups. And whenever there's a big startup with a lot of potential, they end up applying to Y Combinator, which if you get accepted, it's very, very prestigious.
It's a big deal to be in Y Combinator.
Yeah,
yes.
You get not only the wide range of experts they have that can help you with your business, but you can get funding, and in turn, the company takes a percentage of your company.
Yeah, so Y Combinator is a group that's in the Bay Area that somebody who's got an idea or is just an entrepreneur wants to go in and do something. They go and join this Y Combinator. It's very prestigious, very hard to get in. And once you're in, you're basically getting access to mentorship, support, resources, and eventually funding, as well as the network of other people that you're meeting through this Y Combinator. And a lot of big companies are coming out of Y Combinator. So you mentioned that you want to build the Y Combinator for teenage business people and entrepreneurs, and you're working on that. I think you also touched on something that was very interesting that is very much alpha first, which is we really believe that you should build an audience. You should never go build your product in private where nobody can see, but the best way to go and build and iterate on something is to constantly be getting feedback, build an audience so that when you're ready to go to market, you have a customer base that's already knows what you're doing, is interested, that you've already gotten feedback from to understand how to make your product good. So let's start with that part.
Yeah.
How are you building your audience currently?
So what I'm going to do is create a series of like journey type of videos. So the first thing I'm going to start with is tell the audience about what I'm working on, what path I'm taking. And there's a lot of different ideas I have planned out. Like one of them would be offering businesses services, but if it's not successful, they get a complete refund.
And are you going to be putting these on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat? Where are you going?
So I'm going mainly on TikTok. That's where like a huge population of teenagers are on currently. And I have a few different video ideas planned out. Or one of the video ideas I have is to go to boring businesses which are like laundromats, dry cleaners, and they're generally...
Sorry, laundromat, dry cleaner owners that are out there listening. This is boring, according to Geetesh.
You're onto something though. Keep going,
yeah.
And going to these boring business owners who are not very like digitally literate and fixing something that's like that's keeping the business, that's like a bottleneck in the business, keeping it from growing even more. Let's say like bringing in AI tools for their marketing or their revenue management. So essentially that's the video I want to do, and that's something I want to do with the business I'm building in public, would be to finding pain points in different businesses and fixing it for them.
Giving advice around how they can do that.
Exactly.
So how you can take your maybe traditional business that hasn't really changed much in 40 years and bring you up into the 21st century and give you some tools to help you grow your business. Well, all of what you're talking about is really highlighting what you said at the beginning, that you are an entrepreneur. You love the idea of going out and learning about businesses, thinking about how you could build a business, how you could add value to a business. What do you think Alpha is enabling you to do in pursuing that interest and passion you have?
So one big thing is just the time, because before I wouldn't have, like in public school, I wouldn't have the time to be able to do all this. And now I have part of the school day and even after school to work on it constantly. And the thing is, one thing I've realized is before I didn't really like researching that much. But the more I'm researching about this specifically, it's actually fun for me. It's like it's like a hobby more than like a chore. Yeah. And that's something like Alpha does great. It helps you like figure out what you're truly passionate about. And yeah.
It doesn't feel like homework. It's not homework. It's like you're finding something you're interested in. You've got all this time to go do and build and still not give up the academic aspect of your journey. Have you taken the SAT as a junior yet?
Yeah, I took it.
How are you doing so far?
So I got a 1480 on the July SAT.
Amazing.
But
That's pretty good.
I want to aim for 1550 plus.
Of course, you got to go 1550
Yeah,
plus.
100%.
Let's do this.
One great thing was with the academic model, it's not super like set in stone like a traditional school where you have to follow whatever the teacher's teaching you. It's actually right now I personalized it specifically for what I want to do, and I changed my plan a little bit. So I'm focusing a little bit more on SAT work and doing apps like eGump or Alpha Read to help me with my reading comprehension, which I'm struggling on.
Yeah.
So that's I can personalize my study plan to help me with what I'm trying to focus on.
Yeah, that's such a great example of, I think, the benefit of personalized learning is provide those lesson plans that are going to help you on the verbal part of your SAT so that you can have that done. Have you taken the PSAT yet? Did you take it?
We're taking it tomorrow, actually.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Good luck. I hope it goes well.
Thank you so much.
That's exciting. Well, Geetesh, you really have been just such a wonderful addition to the community. And not only have I seen it here at Alpha School from my role, but my daughter talks about you as well. And she was so excited when you joined the school. In fact, she was one of the people who, when you were in the summer and nights and weekends program, she's like, Mom, this kid Geetesh is awesome. I really, really hope he can come to the school. He's so great. And I think it was just a testament to what you said, the culture that we're creating, which is when you give young people time and opportunity and mentorship and space and support to go do big things. It's like an infectious, beautiful kind of culture to be in. And thanks for being a part of it.
Thank you so much for inviting. I had a great time here today.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to definitely check in on you more because we've got you for just under 2 years. And so you'll be back.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Mackenzie Price and the Future of Education podcast. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, now is the time to do it, so you can stay up to date on all our episodes. You can connect with Mackenzie on social media and be part of our daily conversation over on Instagram at futureof_education. For more info about the show and our guests, you can always visit futureofeducationpod.com. Lastly, if you're loving what you're learning, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back in your feed soon, but until then, remember, kids are limitless, and it's our job to unlock their potential.